This is Dr. Lee. We are now going to go over MBC 101 Unit 3 lecture, which covers Anatomy Part 2, Directional Terms, Anatomic Planes, Regions, and Quadrants. So the objectives for this presentation is to write the definitions of the word parts included in this unit. We will build, analyze, and define and pronounce and spell the terms used to describe directions with respect to the body. We will define, pronounce, and spell the terms used to describe the anatomical planes as well. We will define, pronounce, and spell the terms used to describe the abdominal pelvic regions and identify and spell the 4 abdominal pelvic quadrants. You will interpret the meanings of the abbreviations and read medical documents and interpret medical terminology contained in them. Now, the purpose is of the anatomical planes and directional planes we will discuss here. So directional terms are used to describe the relative position of one part of the body to another. So it's very important, especially when you're doing surgery and procedures, to have the specific directional term. Because once the patient is sleeping, they cannot give you that information. So oftentimes you will see directional terms used in the medical chart for that purpose. The anatomic planes are used to describe the locations of internal organs and structures. Again, very important during surgery to know specifically which anatomical plane we are talking about. Abdominal pelvic regions are used to locate anatomical position to describe things such as pain, incisions, and markings. So let's look at an anatomic position. So the body is viewed as erect when the arms are at the side with the palms of the hands facing forward and feet are placed side by side. Whether the patient is standing or lying down face up, the directional terms are the same. So here is a very good graph of that, okay? So if the person is standing up, again, the palms are facing up, you will have your directional terms that will tell you, is this the distal part of the arm or the proximal part of the arm? The distal, which means further down part of the feet, or the proximal, further up type of part of the feet? Is it the lateral part of the stomach, or is it on the right or on the left, or is it the medial? Okay, then if you look from the posterior side and behind, you have the cranial and the caudal. Cranial is further going to the brain, caudal further going down to the gluteus. Okay, so superior is where you have your head position, and inferior where your feet are positioned. So this gives you a really good sense of direction when we're talking about the different parts of the body. Then you have the anatomical planes. You have the frontal or coronal, and that's the vertical field that passes through the body from side to side, dividing the body into anterior and posterior portions. So we talked about anterior being the front of the body, posterior behind. Then you have the mid-sagittal. That's vertical field that runs through the body from front to back, and that divides the body into right and left halves. Then you have the sagittal, which is a vertical field running through the body from front to back, but it divides the body into the uneven right and left halves. Then you have transverse, which is a horizontal field dividing the body into upper part and lower portions of the body. So here is a good graph that shows all of this. Okay, so remember, coronal or frontal plane, then you have the axial or horizontal or transverse plane, then you have the sagittal or longitudinal plane, the median plane, and the parasagittal plane. Now you have the abdominal pelvic regions. They assist medical personnel to locate medical problems with greater accuracy and for identification purposes. So the abdomen is divided into regions such as hypochondriac, which is right or left, epigastric, which is And then you also have lumbar, right and left. You have the umbilical area. And then you have the iliac, also right and left, or the hypogastric. So here are the different quadrants of the abdominal pelvic area. Okay, so you have right upper quadrant, or RUQ. You have the left upper quadrant, or LUQ. Then you have the right lower quadrant, RLQ, or the left lower quadrant, LLQ. And again, here's a good graph that shows the different quadrants, okay? Again, this is very important when you have to be very specific when you're doing surgery and the like to identify the exact quadrant that you are talking about or referring to. And this concludes this presentation. See you in the next one.